You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. Blue plaque, delusion. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Some of you may not be familiar with what a blue plaque is. You may have similar schemes to what I'm about to describe to you in your relevant countries. But basically, a blue plaque is a permanent sign that's installed in a public place in the United Kingdom to commemorate a link between that location and a famous person, event, or former building on the site, basically serving as a historical marker. There is an official scheme which was administered by English Heritage, and then there are unofficial plaque schemes that are used all around the UK. Some are restricted to a specific geographical area, others to a particular theme of historical commemoration. They're administered by a range of bodies, which includes local authorities, civic societies, residents' associations, other organisations such as the Transport Trust, the Royal Society of Chemistry, the Music Hall Guild of Great Britain and America, the Centre for Pagan Studies, and the British Comic Society. Commemorative plaque schemes are also used in places such as Paris, and Rome, and Oslo, and Dublin, cities in Australia, Canada, Philippines, Russia, and the United States, and quite possibly other places besides. The commemorative plaque gives you some detail of what went on there. So, for instance, there's one that commemorates that Lord Alfred Tennyson, poet, giving his dates of birth, lived at a particular place at 9 Upper Belgrave Street in Belgravia in 1880 and 1881. Charles Dickens, the novelist, was shown to live in a particular place at 48 Doughty Street in Holborn. At 100 Lambeth Road in Lambeth, it commemorated William Bligh, the commander of the Bounty. At 29 Fitzroy Square in Fitzrovia, it commemorated Virginia Woolf, the novelist and critic who lived there between 1907 and 1911. At 22B Ebury Street, Belgravia, there's a commemoration for Ian Fleming, who wrote the James Bond novels and obviously created that character. So accordingly, there are lots of different plaques telling you lots of different things. Why do I make mention of all of this? Well, Harry's wife functions with the delusion of believing that, in effect, a blue plaque should apply to her. There's no doubt that she's infamous, well known around the globe, for basically marrying a royal person and then spending a handful of days in royal service and then kicking up a stink and thereafter getting on the nerves of many people around the globe with her whining victimhood. Would that merit an appropriate blue plaque? Well, the criteria, according to English Heritage, is as follows. The famous person must have been dead for 20 years or have passed the centenary of their birth, and fictional characters aren't eligible. And therefore, already Harry's wife would fail as a consequence of still being live and not being 100 years old. They must also be considered eminent by a majority of members of their own profession. I don't think that, given the only profession she belongs to is acting, that the majority of the members of that profession would consider her eminent, or have made an outstanding contribution to human welfare or happiness. Certainly not the case. Having lived or worked in that building in London, excluding the City of London and Whitehall for a significant period, in time or importance within their life and work, be recognisable to the well-informed passer-by, or deserve national recognition. Well, she did live in London for a handful of years, but as for the other things, it wouldn't apply. But would she think that, for instance, she should have a plaque somewhere else? You betcha. Remember, she functions through delusion. She believes that she's brilliant. Her narcissism tells her this. It doesn't allow her to see her failings. It doesn't allow her to see her shortcomings. Everything that she does, she believes turns to gold, but as you all know, she has the Saddam touch, the reverse of the Midas touch, where with that particular Saddam touch, she turns everything to shit, quite basically, also known as being Markled. But within her deluded bubble, she believes that the world ought to worship her, and that wherever she has been, a blue plaque might be applicable. And word has reached me that she would think, in effect, that a blue plaque ought to apply to the mansion at Montecito for the purposes of increasing its value. Yes. The word is that Harry's wife moved to that property, never with the intention of making it her forever home, but rather with the intention of flipping it. What's this? Homes under the hammer with Harry's wife? Changing rooms with Harry's wife? You actually think that she's going to refurbish the property to increase its value and then sell it? No. Harry's wife wouldn't do that. That would require too much work and effort and creativity. None of those things that she's particularly familiar with, except when it comes to the creativity of telling porky pies. But doing that's easy, because they just spill from the mouth, as require actual imagination and a thought process. No, what she has believed is this, that by her and Harry living in the house at Montecito, that after a period of time, the very fact that they've lived there would cause it to drastically increase in value, so that people would want to buy it because they lived there. In effect, that there should be a blue plaque on the wall saying that Harry's wife and Ginger Bollocks lived there between this date and that date. Yes, that is the level of delusion by which she operates. She thinks that by simply having lived somewhere, that people would want to buy that and it would increase the value. Of course, it's more likely to decrease the value because of the awful taste that's shown. And who would want to be associated with the property that she once lived in? But she believes that out there are people that would want that. That there's somebody sat there thinking, oh, look, the house that Harry and his wife lived in is up for sale. Darling, we must buy it. We must trade in all our stocks and shares, all of our other assets and investments to ensure that we can pay the inflated premium on this property that she's placed upon it, because she believes that everybody will be interested in living in that property because her arse has sat on the chairs in there at some juncture, and that she has shoved her nose against the window whilst watching Harry juggle his balls outside. It's a fantastic example of the level of delusion by which she operates, believing that people will want to buy that property and at an inflated price simply because she has lived there. It demonstrates how she believes that she is a walking legend, when in actual fact she is just a legend in her own lunchtime. But this is an excellent example of the way that her deluded mind functions, whilst also educating you somewhat about the existence of blue plaques. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.